coast to coast.
Hello, my name is Tajan Kenkre. I'm on the seminars and keynote speeches committee. And I'd like to introduce you to Mrs. Meera Shenoy. Her keynote talk today is focused on the pioneering, far-reaching, and high-impact work she and an organization, Youth for Jobs, are doing in the upskilling and job placement of rural, tribal youth as also differently abled people. It is the subject of an Harvard business case, and her work has won many national and international awards. Please watch a short introductory video on her work and welcome Mrs. Shenoy. Thank you.
मीरा शेनॉय जी भी ऐसी ही एक मिसाल है। वो रूरल, ट्राइबल और डिसेबल यूथ के लिए मार्केट लिंक स्किल ट्रेनिंग के क्षेत्र में उल्लेखनीय कार्य कर रही है। मैंने यहाँ तो कुछ ही नाम लिए हैं, लेकिन आज हमारे बीच मेंटर्स की कमी नहीं है।
Namaskaru, Sakajanaka, and I'm so happy to be here. Let me begin by thanking the members of the organizing committee of the Konkani Sammelan 2022. I talk all the time to boards of companies, government, panel discussions, national and international. But giving me this opportunity to present my work to my very own community, let me tell you, is something so special. So a big thank you to all of you. I grew up in Chennai, India, like many of you. When my mother passed away, Ami Godrej community into ye corner, we found a small plastic packet with 4 jatak or horoscopes. When we opened mine, Ami Sakajan Haslinji, because it said, this girl will dedicate her life to society. At that time, I used to be a business journalist flying between India and Italy since my husband was working in the UN. Then I got a degree with BBC. I was an international journalist. But a time came when every day in the morning I would get up and say, what I was doing, no pro, I must do more. I must do something hands-on to support the people, especially the youth living in the rural areas. And yesterday, as Milind and I were saying, it's not just me. When any one of you conspire to do something good, which is not for you, but it's for the others, there's a force above, the universe, which conspires to make it happen. And that's what happened to me. This began my decade-long journey of working with young men and women from the villages of India to train them and to put them into jobs. This is Subhashini. She's from Vellore. The Amgela Varichi, when she was born, she did not have a disability. When she was about 12 years old, a teenager, they began slipping on the stairs. Doctor's prognosis was she has muscular dystrophy. Now, this is a disability which does not have any medicines. So your muscles just start deteriorating. The elder sister deteriorated so fast that she was soon just on the bed. She, with a lot of challenges ita Malayali, India antu, the schools are not accessible, public transport is not accessible. She did her MCA. After that, kain jobs. She taught as a teacher, she did as a DTP operator, and her father passed away with cancer, so she had to earn. Came COVID and she said she applied for 100 jobs every day, but no replies. Amitika, tool korno, we put her in a work from home opportunity with Amazon for a princely sum of 4.5 lakhs per annum. What she told me was, it was not the challenges of accessibility which troubled her, but the barbs of a cruel society. Tigil relatives every day would tell her, Subhashini, tuk bathroom aata hai bocha, Zaina, because she had to go on a wheelchair. What's the point of you living? Why don't you die? She said every day they would tell me, why don't you die? And there was me, being very clear that I should earn money. And what she told me in the end is something which rings in my ears every day. What she said was, ma'am, you transformed my life. I will promise you that I will change the lives of others. And when I found out what she's doing, she's joined this WhatsApp group of muscular dystrophy. Not even 10% of the kids go to school. So she's encouraging them to go to school, she's teaching them English, she's helping them to get their disability certificate. So there's one life we've transformed. Here, audience Santu, I'm sure many of you either are from Mangalore or have come from Mangalore. This is Akshita, and she is from Karkal near Mangalore. She was born speech and hearing impaired. That means she can't speak. Her parents, since she was the only child, really protected her. And Kashtana, she passed her schooling in the NIOS. Konkani Sammelan training center rahali, and she would cry every day because she missed her parents. Her English was poor. Her sign language was poor. But what we found was that she was good at computers and picked up fast. So, training Datari, we put her in a job in Webel as a customer service associate, non-voice based. The bus dornu vatana, she met this boy, another speech and hearing impaired. Love blossomed in the air, and they decided to get married. Our trainers, who are big decision makers, approved. Her parents approved. COVID came and he lost his job. But the confidence Akshita had was, she took her husband for the job interview in the very same company she works. And what you see that photo is Tangal work from home office, both of them working in the same company as non-voice based, because he's also speech and hearing impaired, as non-voice based CSAs. And don't forget now, they belong to that group of what you call DINK, which is double income family. And surely they'll grow into a world which is closer to yours and mine, and not a world of poverty. In India and the developing countries, when you're disabled, it's not necessarily tugel falter. It could be that your mother was poor, and a nutritious food melni, so the child is born retarded. Or it could be the public health center. They tell me they were born normal, they had high fever. By the time their father, who's a poor farmer, walks or takes his bike to the PHC center, the doctor gives an injection and their limbs are paralyzed by the time they come home. So poor health facilities, natla utkantu fluorosis, natlali, they don't understand things like neurodiversity, which is not assessed, and they think all the disabled are queer, or worse still, they hide them at home, thinking that the brother or sister will not get married because this is a curse from above. So census does not capture this data. And ammi sanglali ki here chodu anga training center appete malali, they actually look at us as if we are fly-by-night operators, and in the beginning, they did not believe us. Masachin nimgi tachmika, why did I choose to work in this difficult space? There are 1 billion persons with disability globally, and the numbers are really increasing as you and I grow longer, live longer. 80% of them are in developing countries like India. Every indicator is low. Education per la, employment per la, health per la. And there are enough studies to show that they are in the vicious cycle of poverty. So I asked myself 10 years back this question, saying that after this experience of mine in senior government positions twice with the World Bank and the UN, is it time for me to look at a problem which was a really vulnerable problem? And yet, if I worked in India, I could have a model for scale. And one way of doing it was to pull them out of the vicious cycle of poverty and to take them to the virtual cycle of opportunity. And to do it by something which I knew best, which was to train them and to put them into jobs. Because there are enough studies of my own work, previous work in the government, enough journalistic articles written which show very clearly that if you give a job to a young person and with disability the impact is higher, it takes the entire family out of poverty in a sustained manner. And I believe in this, and this drives my work. In fact, I tell my team, you put it up in all your training centers. So when you see the challenges, you know this is the vision towards which you're working. Aneka Sammelan, whenever we start any work, we first ask the question, what does Bharat need? Bharat need means 69% of India are the villages. So we began with what others hesitated to do, to train youth with disabilities with less education who come from the 69% of India, which is its villages. We gave them what they miss in their villages, 21st century skills of digital literacy, English communication, life skills, soft skills. For the educated, we taught them specialized IT and banking. For the visually impaired, we gave them coaching for the government jobs where there's a reservation. We had sign language instructors for the speech and hearing impaired, and we had technology to throw them open to the world of opportunities and the world of information. But when I began my work, I was surrounded by can't. That's India for you, you know. Everyone, no one tells you that you can. So every one of you here who have a powerful idea, go for it, take the risk, okay? And that's what I did. Company CEOs would tell me, Meera, tu McDonald nahi, you don't have deep pockets. How can you set up centers in Bihar, Jharkhand? But that's exactly what I did. I didn't listen to anyone because that's where the real India is. Of course, I set it up in metros too. Companies would ask me questions like, is it expensive to hire? How do you work with these disabled? Government believed in doles and subsidies rather than making them independent. As a result, the youth with disabilities have incredibly low self-confidence and no self-esteem at all. So the question was that, how do you do this work and how do you do it at scale? So to energize my own batteries, I went around the country listening to stories of youth with disabilities who have successful entrepreneurs, and there were wonderful examples. I spoke to company chairmen who had combined disability in their business models. The result was this book called You Can, which some picked up from our booth outside. It's a Bloomsbury publication. It was the top of the charts in the Jaipur Literary Festival, 3 editions. And the Hindi edition was released by our own Mohan Bhagwat. What it taught me was that if they, with all their disabilities, can, I definitely cannot give up my journey. And it's inspired many people who read this book. I've had grandfathers writing to me, I've had parents, I have children, all saying we read this book and realized that in this world, we should not let small problems obstruct our path. If we have an idea, we should just go for it, crossing over these small obstacles on the way, and that's exactly what I did. The route for a youth with disability from a village to reach his first job, a first job with all the perks in the organized sector, there are many gaps. Slowly, but systematically, we began closing those gaps one by one and built for India a model with scale which is replicable in any part of the world. Today, we are a 10-year-old baby, but we've become the largest in South Asia. We've touched 9.3 million households in the villages, and these numbers are really going to grow now because we've got into the next stage of work, which is training the youth with disabilities to lead the program, and it's a very hands-on grassroots model, which is the next phase of our work. So we've touched about 9.3 million households. We train 16 to 17 youth with disabilities every single day and link them to sustainable livelihoods. We work with about 1,100 companies. And every year we added one disability. So, I mean, we've been doing this slowly, but as I said, steadily and with a clear vision in mind. So today we work with about 18 disabilities. The government recognizes 21. But intellectual and severely mental, the companies don't accept, so we don't work with them. Then, of course, came COVID. It affected all of us, but to any vulnerable section of the population, it really affects them in an amazing manner. The blind didn't know where to get their rations, the speech and hearing impaired couldn't hear the health restrictions. So we did several things. We distributed rations through joining hands with the army. We set up helplines in the poorest of Bihar, Jharkhand, so that the youth could know what they have to do. But the constant calls we had from our youth was, don't close your training centers. We had closed all our centers because of the restrictions which were there. They said, now we need jobs. It's actually a matter of hunger for us because our parents who are marginal farmers, and all the incomes have completely gone. So please do some training. So we launched India's first grassroots online trainings for youth with disabilities. Let me tell you, it was not easy. There were hundreds of problems and my team was doing jugaad all the time, sometimes even without asking us. Most of the people only know WhatsApp, they don't know G-Connect, they don't know Zoom. So we had to do an orientation course to platforms. McEnery, they have only one smartphone, a smartish kind of phone in the family, which the father carries always. So how does a girl borrow that phone, okay? The next was, we found huge desire of the girls to participate in our training. So we created an afternoon batch for them. Signals Nanatlali, the boys would go and stand outside the shop and listen. We found the girls and young widows, Tani Sakhani Kam Kodno, Dhanpar batch antu, they enrolled her. And the mothers would ask Tangal Chaldaka, Itak tu phone dorn saglo dis basla. And when he said that it's for a job, the mother was so happy that, and you know what big brand ambassadors our mothers can be, all the mothers here in this audience. So they became our largest word of mouth ambassador for us, spreading our work to every nook and corner of India. We had youth from Jammu and Kashmir, we had them from Meghalaya and remote corners, and sometimes when it was from a village, we would actually look at the map of India to say, "Kahin hai village asa mono." When we looked at our COVID data, we were so amazed. Our numbers trained had gone up, our incomes have gone up. Why did the incomes go up? Because the usual sectors had closed. Retail had stopped hiring, hospitality had stopped hiring, but e-commerce and logistics were big, and we became their largest partner. Amazon, we must have put about 3,000 youth who are speech and hearing impaired across the country. And their salaries are higher than the other sectors, so our salaries went up. We found there were more youth who were SCs. We had more from the aspirational districts. More companies, more local companies had supported us. And we realized that we had created an opportunity out of an adversity. We won several awards for this work and were asked to share it at various forums. But what gave me pleasure was the slide where you see. Whichever corner of India I go to, there's a youth with disability, different disabilities. You'll see one with locomotor, one with speech and hearing impaired, one with autism, one who's visually impaired. Different disabilities, different parts of the country, different jobs. And it made me feel, and I think my entire team feels so happy that we did it in COVID times. But at the same time, we realized that actually, you know, if you reflect, we are not the heroes. The real heroes are them. Itamalali, at a time when there were lockdowns, when it was so difficult to come for the job interviews, they would sit on the top of trucks, come at unearthly times, sit in my trainer's house sometimes. They didn't have clothes. We couldn't distribute uniforms, so they would borrow a shirt and shoes from my trainer, go for the interviews. And the stories of their giving back was simply amazing. So we brought out this book called COVID Stories, which we launched, and it was so inspirational, it's so much in demand, even in the international university libraries, that we made it a downloadable copy, and any of you can read those wonderful stories which will warm your heart. These are some of the companies we work with, just a glimpse of the companies which we work with. Unless you do a lot of work with companies in this space, the youth don't get jobs. So we sensitize them, we give them sign language workshops, we do safety audits, we help them in onboarding and recruiting. We have a whole series of services. Our latest is that many companies want to know what are the cutting edge technologies which can be used. So we do assistive technology webinars. This is Google. It has the largest campus in Hyderabad outside Mountain View. So we started with them volunteering with us, and now we have about at least 100 youth working there. And Tangal Chef Sangtal Maka, he's saying, "Arey, your youth," he was hesitant to hire, by the way, because food is important. And what he was saying was that your youth don't have a degree from Oberoi and Taj, but let me tell you, today, I do not mind leaving my kitchen in their hands, and their decoration and their sense of color is much better than even mine. This is IKEA, which opened its first retail outlet in Hyderabad, and we did a sensitization for all their members. It's a very multicultural team. But most importantly, we realized that if you really want to make a difference in companies, you have to show them that this work helps your business. So this is a good example of our recent work, Foxconn. They are the largest manufacturers of phones. Their Asia Pacific CEO heard me speaking at a conference where I spoke with him. Tan Sangle, we hire girls, but can you give me girls with disabilities? So we did very systematic work there. My team worked with their engineers. We found 40 positions in which we can put our youth. COVID time, our girls with disabilities were the ones who ran their factories because vingal sakajena kamaka ye nichi. But what is more heartening to me was that Jose had put a target of 2%, Sureka, of the workforce to hire. Then he took it to 5%. And atta 10% he has declared they should have people with disabilities. And that's what happens in many of the companies where we able to take it beyond just a tick mark. One of the largest BPOs told me that forms, if a typical youth fills about 60 forms, they've coined a new word called centurion, which is for our youth who are able to do 100 forms a day. And I met one of those youth, when he came to our training center, he was just looking down, he couldn't speak. Aji, in 8 months, he's bought himself a motorbike, he's gelled his hair blue. Okay, and truly, if you see him, I think he's forgotten his past. Hum tak ningil hai. What were the difficulties you had before? He said difficulties because with his gelled hair, he has no difficulties. He's thrown his past beyond him, which is wonderful and happy news for us. COVID time was also when we had huge number of volunteers. For example, the Google, not just they gave us content, but all the leaders participated in our trainings. And the impact for a youth from the village to have a Google leader actually giving him trainings was really amazing. Amazon, for example, recently in 3 cities, we did a distribution of tablets with preloaded content for the e-commerce industry. I think about 800 tablets to the speech and hearing impaired. And when we do these events, we take everyone with us. We call the senior government people, we call all the company people, and of course the youth are there. The idea is to show that the work may be done by us, but by God, this work is for the country. It's not our work, and we want to leave behind a better India. So, we were just thinking, thank you, we need that. Kasana, what next one, what I was thinking, when I was at the MIT campus, Hanga, every judge who had judged that prestigious Future of Work Award had chosen us. So all of them told me, Meera, your next step is that you should really build a cutting edge job platform for youth with disabilities. So I said, okay, maybe that's my next step. So funded by Kotak, we are setting up the country's first AI-triggered job platform, which is accessible for youth with disabilities. Our partner is IIT Hyderabad, the new IIT, which is supposed to be known for its computer science. They're helping us with the AI. The PSAs, which is the Principal Scientific Advisors to the Prime Minister, they support us just in making sure that we know all the best practices. And there's, of course, my whole team. When this comes, we did a beta launch. It will get launched ek do mahina na. This will be a true offering for the country, and that's why Tajnawa, which we coined, it's Swaraj ability. Swaraj malatum sakajana gutasnava. It's a Gandhian name which says freedom. And ability because we want to give freedom to all by tapping into their ability through technology and jobs. while all these things happen and we keep doing new work all the time, I think what really inspires me and keeps me firmly on this path is when we measure, and we measure constantly. We measure ourselves, we do third-party studies on our work. We know what is the impact of every person we touch. Tani save karta do, and this is the way their savings are spent. They go back home to their villages, and they are our new change maker, spreading the word that there's ability in disability. Quite often, Tangel village antu landlorder, takele puta kamna, who's non-disabled, he doesn't know how to get a job. So he's whispering to this youth, saying, "Tukka job mono." So can you imagine this youth with disabilities who are supposed to be useless? The village mukhya is whispering in your ear, "How did you get a job?" You know, the kind of pride he gets. He inspires, he saves, he or she sends their younger sister back to school if they're not educated. Especially girls, they teach them that it's important, that you must have a career. And do not forget that these were the same people who the parents and family hesitated to give food because they had limited money. And today, they are the ones who run the entire home and whose earnings were so important to them in COVID times. So I think what it does is that it gives us the surety that what we are doing is leaving behind a better, inclusive India and an inclusive world. Quite often, Havashi Uletana, many people in the audience in the question and answer session, they ask me, "How kasa koriyata? Wonderful work, mono." My reply always is, "Tugil merna kasa aski tu koriyata," because the space is like that. The poor in India especially need so much, not just in India actually, developing countries need so much. So whatever you have, you want to donate, we've made it easier to donate for you with tying up with Ashra. I think you all know Ravi Baliga. You can donate your time, you can donate your technology. If you have mature sons who want to experience the real India, you can send them there. If there's anyone among you Konkanis who work in disability, I'm bringing the largest global conference which takes place at the UN headquarters to India. The MOU just reached me today morning, and it's an MOU for 10 years. It's called the Zero Conference. It's held every year for the last 16 years at the UN headquarters in Vienna. They've chosen me as the India partner to bring the conference to India. Very excited about India because India is hip and happening, as all of you know, in this sector. And yes, I'm excited too because what it will do is it allows me to bring different players, both in India and abroad, on one platform. They already have about 6,000 experts from 180 countries. So to me, anyone here who's working in the space of disability, who has a company which is working in this space, feel free to connect with me if you need to. So when everyone asks me, I say, "Tu kasle koriyata." A year back, Mountain View, valli yeka hoarding ashilat when Dalai Lama was visiting. The barelele, be generous, be selfish. Now, Sakkajan liktani, "Are, when you're being generous, how can you be selfish?" It seems so paradoxical. But the truth is, when you reach, when each of us reach that level of abundance And let me tell you again and again, when you reach that level of abundance, and abundance is not the money you possess. Even the poor reach the level of abundance and give back. So when you reach that level of abundance and begin giving, what it does is that it flips a switch in your inner soul and allows you to access a fountain of unstoppable peace and joy. So let me end today. So let me end today by wishing the entire Konkani community over here reaches that level of abundance and accesses the fountain of joy and peace, so important in today's uncertain world. Thank you.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meera, for highlighting the challenges faced by the differently abled people and their families. And I don't think words can portray the magnitude of the impact of your work. And as Konkanis, we are really proud of the work that you're doing. So, audience, please don't forget to visit their booth. They have one of the booths there set up about their foundation, so please visit that. And on behalf of the Konkani Sammelan committee, we want to give a small token of appreciation to Mrs. Meera Shenoy. Please accept it.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and thank you all.
Thank you.